think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me?
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
That there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now. That's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford said with confidence that he could beat Floyd Mayweather. Crawford said that history will remember him for taking on every challenge, and that he would beat Mayweather even in his prime. He said that no one could say he was avoiding opponents because he has always battled whoever stood forward. Crawford intimated that he wouldn't back down from Mayweather either if the fight ever happened.
And he started going like this, and then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Dan Rafael says that Terence Crawford has reached a place in his career where he doesn't even need to fight again to establish his reputation. He says that Crawford's achievements are already unrivaled because he has cleaned out divisions, unified titles, and beaten top opponents without ever exhibiting any signs of weakness. Rafael says that at this point in a fighter's career, it's not about proving himself anymore. It's about maintaining his legacy and enjoying the praise he deserves. He thinks Crawford's resume is already better than what most people thought it would be. And fighting more fights that don't matter won't do anything for his place in history. Instead, his recent domination in the ring is enough to keep him regarded as one of the best.
What does a Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quit. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fan. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy is really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he could either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And, he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
The way Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez so decisively has sparked a heated debate in the boxing world. Fans and experts instantly started to compare his success to Floyd Mayweather's win over Canelo. Some people have started to wonder if Crawford should be considered better than Mayweather because he beat Canelo when he was older and more experienced. But Luke Thomas has reminded fans that Crawford's career took off considerably later than Floyd's. Mayweather was already a superstar at a young age and was fighting tough opponents early in his career. Crawford, on the other hand, has had to wait longer for his big breaks since he hasn't been promoted or recognized enough. Thomas says that even if Crawford's win over Canelo was more remarkable in terms of how it was done, it doesn't mean he is better than Floyd in history because timing and career path are important. when making these kinds of comparisons.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane.
After the Canelo fight, Buddy McGirt was one of Crawford's most ardent admirers, calling the fight one of full domination. McGirt says that Crawford was in charge of the battle from the start and never let Canelo set the tempo or use his typical aggressive strategy. He said that Crawford's win was so clear that there is no need for a rematch, because everyone could see how big the disparity in talent and execution was. McGirt also said that Crawford has finally achieved the legacy he has been looking for years, by decisively defeating a fighter of Canelo's level. Fans and historians can now point to a defining triumph in Crawford's career. That proves how amazing he is. McGirt doesn't have to prove anything else. Crawford has finished his chapter, and his victory over Canelo is proof of his place among boxing greats.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, nah, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those scorecards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. He's fought everybody, he did everything, but, he passed the torch to the right guy. He passed the torch to the right guy. He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So, if you're going to have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When analysts compare Terence Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, they typically say that Floyd's cerebral game is what puts him ahead. A lot of people agree that Crawford is technically clever, able to change their minds, adapt during fights, and easily beat their opponents. But some say that Mayweather had an added level of psychological control that made him much more deadly. Floyd not only fought physically, but he also messed with his opponents' heads, making them make mistakes and give up on their plans. People say that the main difference between the two is their ability to take charge before and during the fight. Crawford is undeniably talented, but many boxing historians think Floyd was better because he brought an air of control and psychological warfare to every fight. The comparison shows how close Crawford is to being rated with Floyd, but it also shows how Floyd's cerebral style is still one of a kind.
Hagler, Hearns. I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like, I've seen all those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked, gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was Errol Spence.
More than 10 years, Terence Crawford has been showing off his skills, but his quiet attitude and lack of flashiness meant that many people in the boxing world missed him. Crawford didn't like to use loud self-promotion and theatrics like other boxers do. Instead, he let his performances speak for themselves in the ring. This way of doing things earned him respect from purists, but also hurt his chances of being well known in the public when he was younger. People are only now starting to see how brilliant he is because of his huge battles with Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. Critics, on the other hand, say that this recognition has come too late because Crawford is already well into his career and closer to the conclusion than the beginning. He may keep adding to his accomplishments, but the time to develop a long-lasting mainstream legacy is running out. Some people wonder how differently his career may have been seen if he had been given the spotlight. Much earlier, people have been criticizing Floyd Mayweather for a long time because he won't concede. That other great fighters are better than him. For example, he typically won't admit that Muhammad Ali is better than him. Now that Terence Crawford has done things that put him on the same level as Floyd, people are asking questions about Floyd's ego again. Crawford's clear win over Canelo has led to talks that could put him in the same historical conversations as Floyd. Mayweather is very protective of his legacy, so this news is hard for him to take. Critics say that Floyd loves being known as the lone standard of boxing brilliance, and when another fighter comes into that space, it hurts his pride. People think that Floyd is envious and can't stand the thought of anyone being honored on his level. This makes it hard for him to respond to Crawford's rise in public.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter, right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition.
Sean Porter talked to Terence Crawford directly about why he was willing to take on difficulties that other people thought he couldn't manage. Crawford said that for years, many doubted him and said he couldn't compete at the highest level. Instead of avoiding the pressure, he welcomed it and looked for ways to show them incorrect. His wins over Spence and Canelo are not only the best moments of his career, but they also proved to himself that he was right all along.
Close to him when you want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Haiti right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant. Go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man. Me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, Bud want to be great. Where that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top and then conquer.
Porter said that Crawford's willingness to tackle problems head-on shows how different he is as a boxer. Crawford intentionally sought out the toughest opponents, unlike others who might have taken the easier route. He wanted to prove that he was one of the finest. Because of this way of thinking, he is now in the conversation about all-time greats. His legacy will not only be based on his talent, but also on his strength and dedication.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd, then I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is what I seen. I seen Bud. I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stepped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person? You feel like you did it?
Of course. It's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books. Yeah. Like, before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on. Yeah.
I know, good job.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proving himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put date limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you been in my living in my kitchen, motivated me to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on?
Easy.
That's all for today's video. Until next time, stay tuned.